All right.
All right.
Wow, Matthew McConaughey in today.
Time to fire up some sports takes here this morning on the Monday Morning Quarterback. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
That's right.
Where's the food is what I like to call it.
Of course, we'll encourage the Cougars to hit the text line, driven by Duval Ford, 641-1010. Share their opinions. We'll pick one lucky winner. They'll get some free airport parking from our friends at USAPark.net. I think the focus, obviously, and I guess it's how you guys feel and are reacting to it, but, Blake Bortles had 2 picks in Saturday night's game against Atlanta. Also had pretty decent numbers outside of that, especially some big chunk plays. So there seems to be a mixed bag with the level of concern amongst the fan base. So where do you stand with 5?
Wow, are people concerned? Really? Is that the Blake Bortles is Blake Bortles? I mean, I think now I think the one thing that he needs to make sure he reins in is you don't need Blake Bortles from 2015. You're not going to be in shootouts here, Blake. So, there are some positive signs. The overall accuracy, the completion percentage is higher than normal. The average per attempt is up there a little bit. I mean, in a half of football, he's putting up close to 200 yards, but he is being too careless with the football. I mean, that the one throw where he was getting pressured and he just threw it up for grabs into the left flat was that was a rookie mistake even. So, look, the Jaguars are the quintessential, classic, couldn't be a better example team of needing a game-managing quarterback who keeps them in good position and doesn't give the ball to the other team. He was really good at that last year, and that's all you need him to be this year. But the big mistake, the throwing the interceptions, the few that he's gotten away with, he's had a lot of yards, and he's had a lot of completion percentage the last 2 weeks, but he's had no touchdowns and 3 picks. And that is more important than that first part of that equation.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you touched on that I totally agree with was the
only one.
The I'm getting sacked. Let me flip it out here to a guy who's covered play. That can't happen. The interception at the end in the red zone is not a good time or a good place to have an interception, but there was a miscommunication, guy in the wrong place, somebody ran the wrong route, whatever. I mean, so there's explanation there. The one over the middle, bad throw. Listen, Blake is Blake. But what I don't need is he throws an interception and I got Damian Woody calling him garbage or a bum. I mean, come on, man. I mean, the guy went 17 of 23 for 160 yards. He is what he is. I mean, there's always going to be good Blake, and Blake will make some great plays, and Blake will do some things with his legs, and then Blake will make a bad play, a huge mistake. So I don't know what I don't know. Maybe we want to make him our franchise quarterback so desperately with the stats and make him seem like. I mean, what are they saying in Atlanta today after Matt Ryan's 5 of 12 or what were they?
It's just silly to. I don't mean to say you're silly, but that's to me is an apples and oranges comparison. Matt Ryan, they're not saying anything. He was the MVP 2 years ago.
Yeah, but last year he wasn't as great. So when is he going to play back at that status? It just look. Blake is Blake. I guess I say there's one thing we say. That's Bortles being Bortles on the field, and that's Jalen being Jalen off the field. Right, and that's what we got.
Well, I would say this. In a way, look at it as a compliment that someone like Damian Woody would say that, because here's the problem. There aren't many Super Bowl contenders heading into the season about whose quarterback we say, that's just Rivers being Rivers. That's just Brady being Brady. That's just so when you're a Super Bowl contender, it doesn't end well if about your quarterback you're like, well, he's going to have a couple of games. That's just Blake being Blake. So I think that's why.
Well, I'm not saying a couple of games, but I'm saying a couple of throws. Yeah.
Well, he's again, we can shade this, depending on how comfortable you are with Bortles. It's been a lot worse than the 3 picks. He's had another 2 or 3 in the last week that could have been. They could have been intercepted.
Watch anybody play. There's always could have beens like that. I mean, there is. I mean, do you want to so you expect him to be perfect then?
No, I don't expect him to be perfect. I don't expect him to throw No, I don't expect him to be perfect. But again, there's a reason the attention is on Blake Bortles outside of this market is because he is the perceived Achilles heel of a Super Bowl here. And typically in NFL history, it takes an accomplished quarterback to win the Super Bowl. Not every time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not an accomplished quarterback and you win the Super Bowl, you can't do it with no touchdowns and 3 picks. Even if it happens to everyone else, you do it by having what Blake did last postseason, 3 touchdowns and no picks. So that is the part. It's not just the 3 picks, it's the no scores. It's a ratio that will not serve the Jags well over the whole season. Now he's lost his best receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So
he lost his best receiver last year too. I think that either he is who he is. I mean, I don't know how much more he's going to change.
The question is that good enough?
Yeah, if he throws 25 touchdowns and has 10, 11, 12 picks, yeah, it's definitely good enough. It's definitely good enough. And by the way, one of the reasons why we have all these good players is because they're not paying Blake, $84 million. If they had paid Blake $84 million, then there would be less of those good players on this football team.
Well, but he doesn't deserve $84 million, Dan. Statistically, he has been in his career before last year below average quarterback and last year an average quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not some, discrimination against Blake or he's not being paid. I think he's right. I think he's gotten what he's earned to this point, and to get that he's going to have to earn it more going forward. And on a team that has seemingly every part in place for a Super Bowl. I mean, definitely have the best.
I mean, how do you say they have every part in place? They have a great defense.
Yeah.
They have receivers who are untested and young. But that's in place. The receivers are great.
Okay, the passing game is not in place then.
Okay.
But no, they do. They have a.
The tight ends are maybe average.
They have the best defense in the league, and last year the best running attack in the league. That is big. Those are huge.
You're proclaiming them the best defense in the league.
Uh-huh.
That was up 20-10 in the fourth quarter of the AFC Championship game, and statistically was not the best defense in the league last year. It was second best defense in the league last year.
Well,
so
I think they'll be the best defense in the league this year.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
I feel better about suggesting that than suggesting Blake Bortles having 26 touchdowns and 9 picks.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm comfortable with the defense. I do not think that the defense will
but you're just
be an Achilles heel.
what you're basically saying is if the Jaguars don't, and again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying if the Jaguars don't win the Super Bowl, it's Blake Bortles' fault.
Well, how do we know that until it happens?
Well,
until we get there. I mean, I have no idea.
Because in essence, everybody was waiting for Blake Bortles to make a mistake last year, and it was going to be his fault no matter how it ended. And in the end, it really wasn't his fault.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think we have to blame, one particular guy for whose fault it is. I don't know if there's one guy on the defense we would blame for them losing.
I just find it ludicrous that fans immediately, as soon as he throws a pick, get on the Teddy train. Like Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the answer.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not on any Teddy train. I'm going to go with Blake Bortles and do the best I can. I'm simply suggesting that no touchdowns, 3 picks is not going to work. They will not. But no touchdowns, 3 picks, they wouldn't have beat the Bills. Blake Bortles wouldn't be here.
What game did he have 3 picks in?
The last 2 games, he's had no touchdowns, 3 picks.
Oh.
Against 2 first-team
Combined,
defense.
yeah.
Combined in those games.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's been 350 yards. That's great. But they haven't scored points, and he has no touchdowns and 3 picks. So that is why I'm not in this cauldron of worry that he's talking about.
Did we not just take on 2 teams that are 3 teams that are Super Bowl contenders?
Well, that's exactly who you'll be playing to go to the Super Bowl.
Okay, well, were we not ahead when said Blake Bortles left game?
Yeah, I think so. Sure.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
so that is good enough. Then.
Well, yeah.
No?
No, I think that people rightfully question. That's the biggest question on this team going into the year. That's not incredibly insulting.
I didn't say it was.
No, that's just the fact. Blake Bortles last year, even in this breakout year, was 20th in passer rating. 20th.
Right.
Out of 32. He's just,
So do you expect him to be 3rd this year?
No, Dan. I don't know why I don't know what you're asking me. You're asking me, has Blake Bortles played great? And I don't think he's played great. I think he's played like Blake. That's it. Is that going to be good enough? That's the $1 million question. I don't know the answer. I'm not saying it's not going to be.
Yeah.
But everything else better work perfect if it is. You better you better play the best defense in the league, and you better run it, right?
I think the running backs have a chance to be the big difference for them, and I think that, with those three guys, they all had explosive plays the other night. I think those three guys are guys who can, I'd get two of the three on the field.
I like the Grant and
at
Fournette
times.
together.
TJ Yeldon's done well. I like those guys. I think those guys are the key, much more important to me right now than the wide receivers. And clearly the Jags think so too, because that's the area of which they have focused on making better and better and better in terms of, although they give Dante Moncrief a nice chunk of change for the year, they let Allen Robinson walk and chose to re-sign Marquise Lee, who, doesn't look like he'll be playing football this year.
I guess the point being, and the timeliness of this conversation this week, as opposed to a similar one we might have 3 weeks ago or 3 weeks from now, is that the one thing that Jags need Blake Bortles to do is not turn it over.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm not saying he needs to throw for three. The 350 yards passing combined in the last 2 weeks, to me, is overshadowed by the 3 picks. That's all. And for the Jaguars, if Blake Bortles can be good enough, if he doesn't throw an interception over the middle of the, he's also only playing at half each time, as well. So, I mean, we'll see. I think he's got to be better than he's been if the Jaguars, if that's the question, does Blake have to play better than he's played these last couple games if they're going to go to the Super Bowl? I think that it's fair to say, yeah, the answer to that question is yes.
I'm sure the answer is yes to a lot of those guys, though. Except Malik Jackson, who played unbelievable in like 10 snaps on Saturday night.
I had
a sack and 2 tackles, and I was like, man, he's ready to go.
I have no concerns at all with the defense. I mean, to me, they're going to be, right back where they were. They look like the Jags look to me real similar to what they were last year, which was, like you said, minutes away from going to the Super Bowl. All right, that's WTF. Weigh in with your own take, and perhaps you'll be taking home today's prize. Meanwhile, it's the Monday Morning Quarterback, DivorceMenOnly.com.